So this is Suzanne Potts. I'm with Athletes for Hope, and I'm really excited to be talking tonight to Bev Yanez, former NWSL player, coach of the Gotham FC, and just a fabulous mom extraordinaire. Really excited to be talking to you tonight about athlete mental health. So hello, Bev. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, we're thrilled to be talking to you. Are you in New York right now? Where are you geographically?
Yes, so my family and I live in Jersey City, so it's just borders New York. It's about like a 7-mile drive, but it's like an hour.
Okay, yeah, right? Just bumping along. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
Excellent. Can you tell us real quickly about what you're doing? Because you're coaching and you're doing lots of things, but what are you working on there?
Yeah, so I'm currently one of the assistant coaches at Gotham FC, and I came in alongside head coach Scott Parkinson back in about September of last year, and joined the staff with Becky Tweed, and us three, and our goalkeeper coach Brody, have just been working very hard this off season to put things. Put what our identity is and how we want to address like the season itself, who we want to be, how we're going to get there, that kind of stuff. Fantastic leadership from Scott. I couldn't say enough good things about him. And then to work alongside someone like Becky and Brody has just been an absolute dream come true. So doing all that, and then also a full-time mom. I have a 16-month-old, and she's absolutely like the most amazing thing ever. So just being a full-time mom on top of all of it, it's just been an incredible experience. It's been so fun to go from athlete to coach. Obviously, I had about a 3-year gap in between where I did a lot of coaching, continued to study and get my licensing. But to come back and be a part of this impact in regards to seeing the league and its progressions and wanting, more for these players. So to come back and try and be a big effect in that sense has been just an absolute dream.
I love that so much. I can't tell you how proud I am to see women stepping into the space as coaches and just all that you've done to help support women through sports and soccer particularly. It's the best sport ever. So I really am thrilled to see you and talk to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Well, we're excited today. We're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing at Athletes for Hope and our Whole Being Athlete program. And just to set the stage for you a little bit, we're really just hoping to elevate athlete voices in this space. We want to empower athletes to tell their stories. And the ultimate goal is just to help share stories, raise awareness about mental health issues, and perhaps, provide access to resources and just talking about it. I feel like it's coming to life more and more these days. Our 4 core areas that we're working on are around education, storytelling, advocacy, and convening groups. So, Athletes for Hope we're not a mental health organization by any means. What we do best is convene and connect athletes to causes. And this cause has become near and dear to what we're doing at Athletes for Hope. So we're just so excited to talk to you about this.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. It's definitely something that I have experienced. I've seen others experience it, whether it's family, friends, teammates. So it's a very important topic for me. And I think it's one that not a lot of people necessarily speak about, are comfortable speaking about. But I think it's really important that as much as we possibly can continue to speak about it. And let people know that they're not alone in how they're feeling, and that there are opportunities to get help, to speak to someone that you feel very comfortable with speaking to. And so I'm very excited. This is a very near and dear topic to me and my experiences.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I'm wondering just what you've experienced in that space, or if you're comfortable sharing anything about that, or just like what you've seen in other people to maintain your own mental health, or other people doing to maintain their mental health throughout all of this. And, you've had a baby, you've switched careers, you've done all these things, you're juggling with a marriage. And what has that been like for you? And what have you seen that has worked?
Yeah. And I think it's one of those, right? If I go back to being an athlete for just a minute here, I think you do everything you can 24/7 every day of the week to be the best version of yourself, for yourself, and more importantly for your team. Because if you're the best version of yourself, you're competing for a spot. And within that, you're also pushing the group holistically, whether you're the starting 11 member, whether you're number 18, whether you're number 20, you are constantly looking for that best version of yourself with it's what you eat, how long you nap, if you're walking the dogs, how long you're walking them for, if you're meeting a friend for coffee, how much mental, stimulation that may be. Is it a match day -2? Is it a day of a game? Picking and choosing those moments of spending time with family and friends to make sure that your body is completely rested, to make sure your mind is completely rested to compete every single day. I did it for 10 years, and it wasn't until I stepped away that I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So that being said, I think it's one of those that you get into this kind of sense of, this is how it is. This is how it is. I have to compete. I have to be at my best. I have to be, and we need to be okay with, it's okay to not feel okay sometimes, and to have those people that we can go to and just say, this is how I feel. How do I get out of it? I just, I don't like the way I feel, but I want to be the best version of myself. So how do I get back there? How long is it going to take? Will these stressors go away? And so I found that building that group around me, if you will, within a soccer environment, but also outside of it, so that it didn't feel like it was always around me. Having that family and friends that were so removed from the sport that it was like, oh, okay, I got a little bit of like, okay, soccer is a huge part of me, but it's not everything. It doesn't define me. It's not who I am. I am who I am. And these experiences and allowing, this group for me to speak with and share my emotions with and share my stress with, allowed me to go, okay,
yep,
everything's okay. I'll get back at it. I'll get another chance next week. And it's just that continued cycle of finding that emotional balance as much as you possibly can. And that, I mean, let's be honest, playing at that level is very mentally and physically draining because it's a part of who you are. It's a part of your job, right? So as important as it is to be the best version of yourself, it's very, very, very much so just as important to be surrounded by those people that you feel like can help you when you're feeling like you're at the lows of the lows and the highs of the highs, because that's exactly it, right? One weekend you're top of the world, you've won the biggest game, you've beat the biggest team, you've made it to the championship match, right? The next week you score on your own goal. You are a part of a play that all of a sudden, we're out of we're out of it. So it can go in such big waves that emotionally it can feel very heavy at times to go, wow, this is totally amazing. And the next week be like, oh my gosh, I'm so upset at myself. Why didn't I do just a little bit extra? Why didn't I have a little bit extra in me to get there, to slide, to, and you just put all this weight on you that I think sometimes can feel very overwhelming. So I've seen it from people around me. I felt it myself throughout the time that I played, and now stepping into it as a coach, I still feel it, where it's like, did I do everything I possibly could for every single player? Did I say too much? Did I say too little? Right? Did I support my staff in every way I could? Did I pick the right clips for the coach? Was that exactly what he wanted? And I've realized as times pass that I do it to myself a lot. In the sense that, it's usually like, Bev, they were great, but I just put so much pressure on myself to be just so good at what I do that sometimes it can be very mentally draining.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, that sounds like such high intensity and has such pressure. And you mentioned like finding balance and rest and finding champions, and you're taking life out of sport sometimes to kind of find your balance within your sport. I'm wondering about what that was like for you to transition out of soccer as a player, because you hit on already that you knew what to do, and you see the signs perhaps in the girls that you're coaching when they're overburdened or overstressed. Like, what was it? How did you prepare for that, or what would you tell others that are in that space right now when you see them starting to maybe spin out?
Yeah, and I think for me, it always came down to it for me, and obviously I'm referencing the sport specific when I'm talking about this, but it was more of like, you're okay, don't overthink it. Remember why you first started playing, because if I would have remembered that more on a consistent basis, I would remember the fun aspect. And at the end of the day, we all started doing it because we loved it and we had fun, and never lose that component of it. Are you, because we're human beings and you have expectations that are out of this world? Absolutely. But you're here for a reason, because you've had those expectations and because
Yeah.
you've been able to surpass so many others to get here. And so for me, it's a constant reminder of just don't overthink it. You're worried about what the staff is thinking. You're worried about what you think. You're worried about what your teammates think. You're worried about what the opponents think, right? And in reality, all that matters is at the end of the day, it's a sport. And we want to be good at the sport, and you want to be the best that you can be. But at the end of the day, it's a sport. And
Yeah.
it's supposed to be fun. It
Yes.
just gets a
Yeah.
different burden when you're quote unquote a performer, right?
Right.
And so
And
that's the part where it's, how can you eliminate the overthinking, and how can you, like, even now in an era of social media, how can you avoid that stuff you don't want to see, where you're like, wow, is that really what people think of me? And it's probably one person behind their computer, you know, that
yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, who cares what they think, right?
Right.
And that with, like, you can't help but read, but should you read? No, you probably shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the balance, like you mentioned earlier, and I think as much as you can, the ability to manage the overthinking is probably my biggest key. But I would say definitely when I stepped away as a player and retired, my first thought process was, this is all I've ever known. All I've never known is playing. Like, I felt like I lost my identity, and I've never felt like that in my entire life. I felt very ready for the next chapter of my life and so much closure in retiring,
Right.
but I felt lost. It was like, what do I want to do? I always knew I wanted to coach ever since I experienced my time in Japan and learned a more technical and tactical side of the game. And kind of, how did I not know this at 24 years old, playing professionally for 3 years?
Right.
I knew that was where I kind of wanted to go. But it was like, what do I do? Like, where do I give my time? How do I give my time? And I'm still working out 24/7, right? Because it's like, I still have a clock on me. I'm still timing my runs. I'm still finding a grass field. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But it's all I've ever known. And so
Yeah.
I felt like I had lost a little bit of who I was. And I felt like I had to constantly remind myself, the game does not define you. The game does not define you. You've taken these incredible opportunities to meet such amazing people along the way and learn some very valuable life lessons through the sport, that I had to reframe the way that I saw it and change my perspective in some sense, to make sure that I saw it as like, that was the coolest thing that I could ever do. And I'm so glad I had an opportunity to do that. And I have friends for life in the game, and I have mentors for life. And so just changing that narrative was a struggle at times.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like when I took this role here at this club was the first feeling of, oh my gosh, I got to do what I loved for a living for 10 years. I knew what passion felt like. I knew what doing a job, like when you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And everybody says it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. As soon as I got the opportunity to be here and started working with these athletes and working alongside this staff and being a part of the impact on a different stage,
Amazing. Yeah.
was like, this is me. This is what I love this. And having my girl around, having my daughter around, and being
gosh.
influential people. And it's just, I now know what it feels like to do what you love for a living. And I've got an opportunity to do it twice in my lifetime, and who knows how many more.
Right.
But finding that narrative, changing the narrative, using the people around me to do so was a huge part of it.
I love that, kind of finding your why, reminding yourself. And I
Absolutely.
think too, there's so much pressure when you're 23, 24. And like you said, you still had so much growing in the 10 years that you played, and learning and listening and watching, like reminding people you have time, and not many people stay in their jobs for 10 years nowadays.
Yeah.
That's amazing that you've had that longevity and the ability to now give that back and pour it into like other young women and other players.
Absolutely.
It's remarkable. So I love
Well,
that.
thank you. I appreciate that. And I think you just, like, sorry, my dogs are acting up. Hey, you too.
Okay.
Hey, no, sorry.
Okay.
You'll need to cut that. No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
I think we just live in a world today. The more and more that I like reflect on it, we live in such a world where we search for this almost instant gratification. Like, how quickly can we get likes? Like, who's liked it? We search for this instant gratification when we sometimes forget that things are a process, right? It's going to take time. And again, a huge part of it is finding that balance and how to find that balance, but it is going to take time. Like it's going to take time for me to feel really comfortable in my role, right?
Yeah.
It's only been since September, but sometimes I'm so hard on myself. And it's like, I should have known that. I should have done that. I should have explained it a little bit differently. And it keeps me up at night, right? Because again, I want to be so good at what I do for the players, for the staff, right? It's not even for myself. It's for us, but also the grace in that process and understanding that it's going to take time. And as much as we're preaching as a staff, the process, right? Like I need to reflect on it as well.
Right.
And what that process looks like and feels like.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you because again, as like moms, I feel like I didn't really grow into myself until I was later in my 30s or even in my 40s, honestly, like learning about that balance and taking time for yourself. And so I wonder what you do to just for like self-care, or how do you step away, or do you spend time with your daughter or walk your dogs? Like, what is it that you do to take care of Bev?
Yeah. So, and you know what? You're spot on. It's the most important thing in the world.
Anything.
Yeah. And it's so hard to turn off these days. Like, let's be honest. We have our phones on us 24/7. Like, it's hard. It doesn't make it easy when your habit is to go Twitter out, Instagram out, email out, like by the touch of your finger. It makes everything feel so overwhelming at times. And I think for me, it's come down to stepping away, spending time with my daughter, picking her up to go do something. I'll come home from practice. I'll get her in the car. Like, let's go to the park.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun. And it's just little things like that. I personally love to dance. And so one of my most favorite things to do is we do it every night after my daughter gets out of the bath. We turn on her little light. It's like spinning stars, and we put music on, and we all dance. Just like, I feel so free and fun. And like, I just feel like I get to turn off. Right. And that's probably the biggest one for me, is just, and it's just changed my perspective. You know, honestly, I see a lot of my perspective on the game feeling like it was everything to me. And now having a daughter and going, it's okay. Like, if I had played, I know why so many women continue to play. First of all, they're, excuse my language, but they're badass to come back and play a sport at such a high level with children and go through what their bodies have gone through and come back and just do their thing. I have so much respect for it. But the mentality changes. You're like, there's something bigger for me. I'm a mother. I am feeding someone every single day. I am making sure that I'm trying to teach them to be kind in a world that can be so cruel. And that is so much bigger than the game. In a world that you feel like it's soccer, 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 soccer. All of a sudden I get to take my foot off the pedal and go, I'm a mom. The best that I can, and everything that I do, this little girl's looking up at me and is just absolutely enthralled that she gets to call me mom. Like, how special is that, and how cool is that? And that perspective has just changed my life. It's changed my life. It's helped me in the mental health department because I feel so loved. And you know, when she's 16 and arguing back with me, maybe a different story.
Like, but no, time we were dancing after the time.
Yes, there's gonna be a time where I want to spend time with mom, which I'm totally devastated about. But point being that I try to continue to find those outlets of finding a bigger picture, in the sense to minimize what the impact feels like from a mental health standpoint. And what I'm going through is like, it's not that bad. How can I manage it? Or it's getting that bad. I need to talk to someone. I just need to talk to someone and get to the point where I feel like a little bit better again. And I think, that it's just really changed my perspective. And I'm just so grateful to come home and just feel so loved in some days when I feel like I didn't do my best. Right.
It's hard to do as a parent. I mean, you can't be 100% intensity. You're going to mess it up. You're going to mess up with everything. So I hope you enjoy every minute of it. I know going to dinner with your spouse, like doing those things, taking time for yourself is so important. So I really appreciate you just sitting and talking with us. I know you have a lot going on. And that's one of the things we love about what we do at Athletes for Hope, is connecting athletes outside of their sport. And so you're such a remarkable example. You've been such a leader in this space, and we're just really grateful for your time. So thank you for being here.
No, thank you. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. And I have been with you guys since 2010, my rookie season. First chatted with Chris, and I just appreciate all that you guys are doing, the awareness you're bringing in so many capacities, and what you guys are doing is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm truly grateful to be a part of it. And the impact is going much further than maybe even you guys know. And so I wanted to guys for everything that you do for so many. So
Thank you.
thank you.
That's so nice to hear. Thank you. We are thrilled to launch our Whole Being Athlete ambassadors, our mental health ambassadors, and you are part of that group. And so we're really excited to kick things off for May and Mental Health Month. So thank you for just joining us, and we will talk to you again soon, I'm sure,
Yes.
or maybe at some point in person, in real life.
Yes, yeah. I love that. I would absolutely love that. Well, thank you for having me, and I will be in touch for sure.
That sounds good. Thank you.